Following on from what was a more tame episode of From after the season premiere, episode 2 started laying down the foundations for the direction that this season's going to go in. With Kenny finding out about his mother's death, revelations around Fatima and a sinister route that she could be looking to go down, and Boyd finally reaching his breaking point. This next episode, which is titled Mousetrap, has a few main arcs that look like they're going to be getting explored. With just under a week to wait until the next episode, I thought I'd take a look at the preview and also give my theories and predictions on what I think could happen next. So let's get into it. Here is From Season 3, Episode 3, Theories Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The name and synopsis of the next episode is very telling of what's most likely going to happen. The title is Mousetrap, and the synopsis is Kenny leads a group into the forest in search of food. Donna and Ellis try to talk Boyd out of a dangerous plan. Tabitha makes a mind-bending discovery, and Fatima questions the welfare of her unborn baby. So there are going to be 4 different arcs that are on the cards, and I believe the title is probably connected to 2 of the different arcs in particular. I feel Mousetrap is going to be connected to what Boyd's doing, because he obviously wants to catch one of the creatures. But at the same time, I also think it's going to be connected to Kenny leading a group into the forest to retrieve the fresh produce that they found. As after all, a mousetrap is a trap laid out with food on it. I feel like there's going to be something sinister going on there, and Jim finding that food in such an easy way is almost going to be like a trap that whomever or whatever resides there set out in order to draw more people back there. Let's first start by looking at Boyd's story in the episode. Togetherness and having each other was something that was seen as the most important thing that the town could have, according to Donna. This was following the death of Tian-Chen and her being frustrated at the fact that Boyd put people's lives at risk in order to save the livestock that they had, insinuating that they didn't have the same priorities in order. During the end of the previous episode, we saw something switch within Boyd. This was after he was at the funeral of Tian-Chen and he was looking at her laying there in rest. Once he left the church, he said to Ellis that he was going to set out to trap one of the creatures. The thing is, the change has now triggered within him, and he's now switched from wanting to just survive to actually looking to find a way out, and no longer just wait around in the hopes that something is going to change. Losing a figurehead like Tian-Chen, somebody that he was completely distraught over losing because he carried the weight of her death on his shoulders. But that also paired with the fact that so many people had come and gone since he'd been stuck there, to the point where he couldn't even remember their names. It was something that finally made him realize that he was going to die trying to get out of there rather than just hoping. With Donna emphasizing the importance of having one another and everybody being as one as being the most important thing, I think that's why Donna is going to try and talk Boyd out of doing it. Because realistically, Boyd trying to catch a creature isn't going to have any kind of effect on them getting closer to getting out of Fromsville. If anything, it's an action that's coming from his heart, and it's an act of revenge for what the creatures did to Tian-Chen. Within the first episode, the creature mentioned how Boyd said that the town wasn't going to break him, but I feel this is going to be the first step in that direction of the cracks starting to show within a character that usually has such stability. The creatures want Boyd to break, and if he goes after one, that will probably make him closer to breaking and show that he is getting weaker. If Boyd loses his mental state or he puts himself in danger, that will impact the town greatly, arguably even more so than Tian-Chen dying. I do wonder if he's going to go through with it. Personally, I'm on the fence as I feel he could be talked around, but at the same time, him walking through the street with the bell as it looked like darkness was getting closer in the preview for the next episode, it made it seem like a trap had been laid out by him. But regardless, I think we're going to be seeing a different mindset within Boyd over the next few episodes, and the character will go down a somewhat darker route. Kenny and the group in the forest. With Kenny losing his father and now also losing his mother, he's a man that no longer has that guidance or direction. But I think that will come with him stepping up and wanting to take on more responsibility and control. With himself and Jim leaving the forest after finding a plethora of fresh produce that wasn't spoiled, Kenny is going to be leading a group of people there with the intention of retrieving it so the town is no longer hungry. However, I feel like they're going to be walking directly into a trap. We know that there are some sinister beings in that forest due to Jim and Kenny hearing noises outside when they stayed in a hut. Plus, there were those odd-looking dolls that were stuck all around the border of the forest. Judging by the trailer, it looks like Christy is going to get her foot caught in what looks like a bear trap that was set up. And as well as that, it looks like Jade is going to be seeing things. There was an individual that was standing there who was missing an eye and drinking from a skull. We don't know if this is going to be real or one of Jade's hallucinations that he sometimes has, but the forest that they're going to be walking into with the hopes of retrieving food isn't going to be as straightforward as when Jim and Kenny walked in and left unscathed. I can't see Christy being killed after getting her foot trapped, but she'll definitely have a serious injury that will probably put her out for a while. The phone call. The cliffhanger in the previous episode was centered around Jim getting a phone call from somebody that was claiming to be his deceased son Thomas. Jim is a character that often does things that we all question, and I feel this phone call is going to sit within his head and it's going to be going round and ultimately lead him to want to get to the bottom of it. There are a few theories out there at the moment about who or what it could be. Judging by the static noise that was present during the call, the creatures or the supernatural force of the town is what's definitely driving it. I just wonder if it's going to be the boy in white that was behind the call, or if it's going to have something to do with the huts that he found and the conversation that he had with Kenny in there. I think the call is going to send Jim into a direction which ultimately pushes him away from Julie and Ethan. Julie already had views in the past where she felt as though she wasn't enough for her mother and father because they still mourned Thomas. So I wonder if Thomas being brought back up as Julie fears of going down this dark path is going to drive a wedge between them. Something that would also tie into the theme of togetherness not being present and a divide occurring in the town. So Jim's approach will most likely change in the next episode. What's going to happen to Fatima? Within the synopsis, it's said that Fatima is going to be questioning the welfare of her unborn baby, and after what happened in the previous episode where she lost a tooth, hadn't been able to eat for a few days, but then when faced with the spoiled crops, she feasted on them. I think it's safe to say that she should be concerned in some way. I think Fatima's arc is going to be going in a direction that somewhat mirrors the story within the novel and movie Rosemary's Baby. Within that movie, the main character believed that her offspring was not of the natural world, and it turned out that when the baby was born, her inclination was right and she was essentially carrying a demonic being. I feel like in this instance, Fatima is most likely going to be carrying some kind of creature. The fact that during the preview for the next episode, Fatima was in the room when a crow flew in, it doesn't bode well, and it shows that there is something sinister at play. Crows are symbolic of death and rebirth, so I wonder which one it means for Fatima, or if it could mean both. Could we be getting led to believe that Fatima's unborn baby is causing this? But realistically, could Fatima ultimately end up turning? Like I say, I think we've got a bit of a Rosemary's Baby story going on here, so I'm intrigued to see how it's going to develop. There are several different directions that the next episode looks like it's going to go in, and as well, Tabby and Victor's father looks set to be involved in some kind of car accident. I still think Tabby's mother mentioning a detective is going to come up at some point again, and she might end up being a main suspect in the disappearance of her family. Something that would grind the progress that she's making and the fact that she's the chosen one to a halt. So, there you have it, from Season 3, Episode 3, Theories Explained. If you want to see more videos on From Season 3, then click on the card in the top corner. I'm breaking down every episode in the show, so there's a playlist right there. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. What do you think will happen next? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video, and I'll see you in the next one.